Greetings, grasshoppers. This is your RJ, and welcome. Welcome to the bot signal. So many questions. People ask me lots of questions all the time, and here's a major one. People ask, how many times should I be broadcasting inside the bot? Now, a broadcast, if you don't know what that is, a broadcast is just a little bit of announcement. It's outside of any sequences that you might have written. It is what I use for my reminder bot, which, should you want to have some reminders of when these live streams go out, if you type live in the comments, you'll get a little reminder about 15 minutes before. Very, very useful for people if they want to catch the show. So take advantage of that. Broadcasts are what we use when we want everyone with a certain tag or maybe who opted in a certain way to know something. Broadcasts are also what people use to just kind of keep on top of people's minds. Aaron says, hey Aaron, how you doing? Great show earlier. Totally saw it. Loved it. As always. I mean, please. Aaron's quality. So broadcasts are what we use to keep people engaged once they're inside the bot. And I talk about this a lot. You want to invite people to the party, but you want there to be a party there when they show up. You want there to be something interesting and valuable for them after they have run through your intro sequence or whatever it is. You want to keep engaging folks. So how often should I broadcast? This is another one of those answers that can be so specific according to your situation, but I want to answer here generally. And if any of you have any questions as to, maybe to get more specific about your situations, throw them down in the comments and I will answer those. But first, I'm going to go the 30,000 foot view route. And I'm going to say, when you are first starting out with your bot, or maybe you've had it a while and you're kind of restarting, think about broadcasting once a week with some valuable information. Short little broadcasts, they don't have to be long. But what you're doing is when you're offering some valuable information to somebody, or when you're engaging them in a conversation by asking them a question, this is the stuff that starts to cement you as a resource person, as a go-to person. And when the time comes where somebody is, I get a lot of people in my chatbot who they're interested in bots, but they're not quite ready yet. But in feeding them valuable pieces of information over time, what I'm doing is I'm creating myself as the go-to person and the expert. Slowly but surely, consistent and value. Oh, you're so right. And two, when you're offering something consistency and valuable, you don't have to be sending them, a ton of stuff all of the time. We've been kind of trained that over the last few years with marketing techniques and stuff like that. Like, you have to email your list at least this many times a month. You have to write this many blogs. You have to. It's as if we're fighting for real estate inside one person's head. And we truly are. Hey, Teresa, good to see you. Thank you for coming on in and sitting with us, hanging out with us a while. So you don't necessarily have to, it's quality over quantity in a bot. Here's what I think when I look at my computer screen and I am going through my email. 90% of the time I think, okay, this person's trying to sell me something. You want people to look at communicating with you and keeping in contact with you as, here's another piece of valuable information. People are used to, getting marketed to in many, many, many ways. And you want to make this as least markety as possible, least salesy as possible. You genuinely just want to offer them. Here's another thing to keep in mind. When you are doing these once a week valuable information drops, very small, very short little broadcasts, you want to mix in there instead of a valuable content piece or a valuable piece of something, advice or an update. You also want to sprinkle some questions in there. You want to get to know them and their preferences a little better. Because once they've been inside your bot for a while, you can start categorizing folks, tagging them behind the scenes. Like, this is something they really want to hear about. So my bot business is a singular business. I pretty much do one thing all the time. I create lots of bots for people. It lights my fire. But some people are pretty consistent content producers. And so they need to know certain things that are going on with, content production and how best to let people know and what's the easiest, friendliest way to do that. Those people aren't necessarily interested in, ManyChat just made an update where now you can accept payments in the platform. You know what I mean? They're not really interested in the technical side as much. They're into getting people, connected with their tribe. So when I'm asking questions in my bot, when I'm saying hello or whatever, I want to start figuring out what's the best kind of information that folks hear and want to react to. Here's another way to do it as well. So in ManyChat, every time someone hits a button in response to a question, like, hey, do you want to hear about this? Yes or no? Or, hey, I've got this thing going on. I'd love to keep you updated. Would you like to get updates? Every time people hit any button, even if it's just watch live or catch the replay, which some of you got your notification today to do both of those things. Every time somebody hits a button, that's an opportunity for you to tag it in the background so that you can see what that person is interested in, what they're all about. It's a beautiful thing, because then what I can do is sort people into categories and just offer them information that I know will be valuable. Because at first I'm guessing, right? And we all do this when we're getting to know somebody. We're sort of guessing at information that they might find valuable and kind of seeing how they react. Over time, over 30, 60 days, you can start then stepping back on maybe the weekly announcements and stepping forward on, hey, I really thought you'd be interested in this particular thing. Here's why. Let me know if you want to chat about it. Dropping people those kinds of notes every once in a while is in a bot, in just the bot format, is so much better than banging them over the head with, I've got a live stream every Tuesday and Thursday at, I mean, here's something that I noticed as well. I think Stephen Healy and I might have been, no, it was Ross Brand and I, and we were chatting about live streaming. We were getting on some very well-known people's bots and kind of reviewing them with each other. And what we noticed is that there are some people's bots that are always basically broadcasting the same thing over and over. Hey, I've got a new thing going. Want to hear about it? That is, I understand why people go that way. I understand bots are very exciting, but what I'm asking you to do is think about it a little bit differently. Think about it in a way that, is this how it's the golden rule thing. Is this how you would want to be communicated with? If you have a friend and they're constantly coming up to you and going, hey, I've got a new thing you want to hear. Hey, I've got a new thing you want to hear. And they never ask you about you. It's kind of a one-sided relationship. I hope, it's my deep hope, and this is what I work for constantly in my bots, in my clients' bots, everywhere I touch a bot. I want the bots to be the end of one-sided marketing. I just do. Everybody's talking about the messenger revolution. Join us. We're, Botmageddon. We're taking over the world. Oh, we are. But I really want to take over the world with a conversation rather than one-sided marketing. I want to take it over with creating a meaningful relationship inside a virtual environment and then taking that to a face-to-face environment. That's what I want. And so when I'm thinking about how often do I broadcast in my bot, there are times I'm pretty consistent on once a week, and then I start to put people on a second level. If you're communicating back to me, if you're answering my questions, if you're clicking on things, then I start to be able to tailor my information instead of just blast you. And so this is all, if I may introduce the 20 minutes a day concept yet again. Oh, I know you love it. Let's just talk about it. Spending 20 minutes a day with your bot, looking at what's being clicked on, if these things are valuable to people, knowing what a good unsubscribe rate is, 20 to 30% usually. People start kind of panicking at first when people unsubscribe. It's okay. And in fact, it's better that folks unsubscribe than leave you a bad review, delete the conversation, or that kind of a thing. So that's what I know. Here's another best practice. If you haven't seen someone for a while, it's a best practice to check in on them 30 and 60 days. Just check in. Hey, are you learning everything you want to learn? I've got some extra resources here. I'd love to offer you some time if you'd rather get face-to-face with me. That kind of a thing. Just to check in. How are you doing? How are you liking things so far? Is there anything missing? Is it too much or not enough? For some people, that schedule of once a week is going to be way too much. For some people, it's going to be not enough. So bots allow us to adjust. It allows us to adjust the frequency for certain people and not others. Email was sort of meant to do that. If you've ever put together like a drip sequence in email, if you don't know what a drip sequence is, it's get an email this day, wait 2 days, send them another email, wait 2 days, send them another one. If you've ever done that, that same structure offers us a way to kind of, sort people into different buckets and treat them accordingly, but it doesn't work as well in email. And I'll tell you why is because I'm not able to get to know anybody in an email. If you're in my bot, I'll get to know you. If you're in my group, I'll get to know you. But if it's just an email, hardly anyone's ever going to reply and give that feedback. So 30-day check-ins, 60-day check-ins. How are you doing? Are you learning the things that you want to know? And sometimes I'll even say, hey, by the way, you can stop these messages at any time. I don't want to clutter anyone's space. I want to be valuable in their space. If I'm not being valuable, I'm okay with being kicked out. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Aaron knows it's a one-way conversation, and giving people that option to opt out, and then having them say, you know what? No, I want to stay. I want to be here for that. I grew up when you could actually play Oregon Trail on a computer with like a cassette tape that loaded. And die of dysentery. I come from the olden days when like telephones hung on walls and all they did was call people. So weird. I know. It's okay. Blank it out of your mind. But the one thing that we live in a very different society. It's a culture of choice. I can choose on demand to watch people play video games if I'd like. Or craft a costume this afternoon, or play Dungeons and Dragons. I do that a lot. Anyway, it's a culture of choice, but somehow we're still not allowing that other person room to move and grow in that conversation. This is exactly the environment you can create in a bot. Teresa says, conversations, it's something I'm working on. It's a lot more work than I ever realized. Yeah. It is more work, but I tell you what, it's so much more valuable, right? My friend Kim and I talk about content creation a lot. She is a social media queen and super fabulous. Go check her out at A Cup of Content. And we talk about content creation. We talk about creating authentic stuff. We talk about, really building stuff with intention in mind. But I tell you, it's so hard to create stuff and then send it out there to crickets sometimes. We've all had that feeling. We've all gone, oh, really? It was that much work and that's what I'm getting back? Maybe I could go work at 7-Eleven. Maybe that would, mean more to my bottom line. We've all had those days, especially when we're starting out. But creating shorter things that people are able to respond to in the moment, I can tell who's interested. I can tell who only wants to hear from me once every 6 months. I can tell these things in a conversation in a bot, and I can't tell them anywhere else. I really, on a live stream, I can tell who's engaged and involved and asking me questions, but there may be people who are totally engaged and involved that never ask me questions. Here's a scenario. Ready? I had a person tell me that they had a friend of theirs tell them that they absolutely love my show. They love my show. They watch them all. They have absolutely no need for a bot. No need for a bot. Working in a completely different situation, not a marketer, not a small business owner, nothing like that. And yet I come up in conversation because of these videos. There's a person who's engaged. There's a person who has interest in whatever I'm talking about, but I'll never know their name. You know what I mean? In a live stream. In a bot, I'll know your name. I'll know your name. I'll know why you're there. I can communicate. I can find out what you're further interested in. If you have a question that I can't answer, I will find you an answer and come back to you. That's why it's real connection to me. I still lose people, even on a live stream, which breaks that fourth wall down and lets us communicate one-on-one in public, so to speak. Let me get back on the comment train. Just realized why I hate email, one-way conversation. Yeah. It's great when I'm telling you a story. It's great when it's RJ's story time, I have written things that people have written me back and went, this is my most favorite email ever. I believe it was one that I wrote about Bob Ross a couple of years ago. Because I don't write my email list very often. When I'm telling a story, it's fantastic, darling. Some people actually still do prefer email. All right. I'll write you a little email. It's perfectly fine. But yeah, that is another reason why it's just not my deal. Oregon Trail babies. Yes. So long ago. Teresa says, we live in the age of everyone's a student and everyone's a teacher. Not my quote. Someone said that on another training. So true. Oh my God. Love cover content. Oh, who does not? Yeah, well, I think everyone is a student and everyone's a teacher. I wish my university students felt the same. Sometimes they're just there to get through the class, if you know what I mean. Anyway, Teresa says, I watch all of your shows. I too have no need for a bot right now. I learned something useful from every show. Thank you for coming. That is awesome. Listen, someday you might need one. But really likely, you're going to have somebody talking to you about these things and going, where do I start? And they'll be right here with me. You know what I mean? That's what we need to do. We need to, and more than anybody else. Teresa, if you don't know Teresa, she does a lot of teaching stuff, in and around education. And so she knows, too, that the opportunity to learn something is a valuable object in itself. If you're going to learn something, that is what proves that all of this is successful. More than numbers do. Yeah, Aaron, but the email's all about me. Totally. I really think, what would go good right now? a little retraining in email, a little bit of, okay, let's stop, copying other people's stuff and judging it to be us and hoping that this will work. Let's think about email differently. Let's write those things differently so that it does create more of a conversation. I got one a couple weeks ago that was a coach friend of mine sent it out, and it was super short. She asked us one question and said, okay, hit reply and tell me the answer. By the way, I answer every single one of these emails. Go. And it was like, okay, if more, I could write emails like that. Those kinds of emails start the conversation that I crave. Those are the types of things that'll tell me what people need, not just be me running off at the mouth, which, I enjoy. Anyway, I would love to think about email differently. I think that's the greatest. Tish is here. Hello. How you doing? Saw you earlier on a show. Yeah, no copying. So hard to be unique though. Like when you're just first starting out, the confidence to be unique and be yourself and just throw it out there and not with no excuses. It's so hard to do when in the face of other people's social media numbers. That used to really kind of cower me when I was very first in business. It was difficult. So the sooner you can get to a place where you're okay with being yourself. Bots will help you. If you're thinking about them, bots will help you be yourself, because the more yourself you are, the better and more natural that bot is going to read. And the easiest transition ever then when going from a bot to, hey, why don't you pick up the phone with me and let's chat for a half hour and I'll answer any questions you have. That kind of stuff is valuable to people. No, I'm not going to give you a sales pitch. No, I'm not going to go through my 17 slide presentation. Oh my God, death by PowerPoint. I'm just going to straight up tell you what you want to know. And if you've asked a question that's beyond me, and there are several that are, trust me, they have to do with webhooks. Anyway, if it's beyond me, I will look it up or I'll get you somebody. I know plenty of people. I've had the opportunity to be involved with some of the greatest people on the internet. I'm not talking about anybody whose name you may have heard. Some of the greatest people on the internet don't have a name yet. So that's the name of the game. That's the name of thinking about that conversation. Thinking about doing some, how often should I broadcast? Again, start at once a week with valuable info and start moving from there. Start thinking about what people want. Start tagging what they're doing and paying attention to how they're interacting. And that will give you the information that you need to be able to give them valuable information every once in a while. It doesn't, you can move to a place where you're with some people, the content that they need. You can make it so that you tag them on the things that they don't need to hear. And that's really what I think that people want. People just want to be seen and heard. That's all they want. And we can make that possible in the way that we talk to them through a bot. We really can. I'll tell you what, there's a company out there. I read things all the time. You guys are subject to all of this. There's a company out there raising funding for an actual therapy bot. That goes into territory that I don't know anything about, but isn't that interesting that there are folks out there, and obviously it would probably be something that people could get some quick help with certain things and then if they need a longer conversation, go down this route instead. But isn't it interesting that people would sometimes feel more seen and heard by a computer when they know it's a chatbot and they know somebody's going to be by to read it later? Sometimes they feel more seen and heard than when they're in our presence. I'll tell you what, there are times when I'm in people's presence, I don't feel seen or heard at all. When I'm in a conversation and I'm aware that the reason that person is nodding their head and all of that kind of stuff is not because they're interested, but because they're waiting for their turn to talk. When, it's like being in a store and somebody's helping you and they see somebody come in and all of a sudden you never get talked to again. There are times when I'm with real human beings right across from me and I don't feel seen and heard. And there are times in a bot that I feel really seen and heard. So these are the concepts I'm going forth with. I would love to start a teaching service this way. Yes. Teresa, listen. This is a great brainstorm. Grab those Post-it notes and a blank wall, sister. I know you've got one somewhere. And I think that would be a great way, and I am actually, this will be interesting for you, Teresa. I have a client who has hired me. He is a professor at Northern Illinois University. He has hired me to do a bot for one of his classes. He has been teaching tax accounting for, so many years, as many years as I've known him. That's going back at least 10. And he has been teaching them, how to interact with people while doing their taxes. This is the kind of questions to ask. This is kind of the words, when they react this way, do this type of thing. He has been teaching it verbally that way for a long time. He is wanting to do a 50-50 experiment where he exposes half of the students to a bot and half of the students to the old way, and then compares results, compares how they do. So bots for education are fascinating. And if I had any time left over for myself, I would write one for the class that I have in the fall. But I don't know if that's going to happen. Anyway. Blue hair still rocking, just got it done yesterday. The light is not quite bright enough in here for you to see all of the hints of color here, but hello gorgeous, that's where I get my hair done. And my sister's rad, so go see her if you're in this area. Omaha, Council Bluffs. Stacy Spenceley, he's A/B testing his class. He is totally A/B testing his class. And why not, right? You've been teaching it one way for so long, and you're wondering if a bot might be more effective to be able to do those in concert. It just makes me so excited. These things, these geeky things, these are the things that make me excited, people. So glad to know you all. Education bots is a great idea. Well, and what else are we providing people? When we're doing an onboarding sequence for people, that's exactly what we're providing, is education about who I am and what I'm all about. And thus far, I've been able to provide this part of education in a bot, which I don't think that we normally get when people, when you've signed up for somebody's email list and they send you the 5 emails over 5 days. I don't notice this as much in emails or any other form of how people get to know each other, who they are and who they're all about. Reflection in the bot. When and in my templates, when I'm working with clients and stuff, here's a video. Here's an open-ended question asking what you just learned or how you feel about what I just said. Something like that. Getting people to reflect on the experience that they've had cements learning. And I know that it's one of those things where it's like, if I had time to reflect all the time, if I had time, I'd do that kind of thing. But really, if you can sprinkle those moments in and get people to go, what did I just learn? What was the most important thing I heard just now? Then that's really starting to be an interaction and less a talking at people. So anyway, so many things going on. Darlings. If you have any questions about specific situations about how often you should broadcast, throw them in the comments for me, and I will certainly answer them the moment that I see them. And I will fill a few minutes by talking about what's coming up for Black Belt Bots. So, immediately coming up, a vacation. Now, mommy needs one. Business is going insane lately, and I am so thrilled that it's hard to leave my desk. It is hard to leave my desk. I'm involved with so many in exciting people and exciting things coming up and exciting jobs. I'm having a time like I've never had, but it's absolutely necessary for me to leave my computer every once in a while and go, hang out in different places. Now, as an exciting element of this particular vacation, we're going to go hang with parents-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, little tiny people. They have 3 of them, and Megan and I. And we're going to go hang out at a resort on the beach in North Carolina. And it's going to be a ton of fun. I've been to North Carolina several times to see the parents-in-law, and it's always a wonderful and fun experiences. They're baking my favorite cookies. But as an interesting item on this particular trip, I've got a boot. Got a boot for my plantar fasciitis, so I'm going to be booting it on the beach. I'm going to take pictures for you all because I know that you'll love it. And I know RJ traveling. Absolutely. I am going to miss my pets. I'm going to miss my little boys very much. North Carolina has a great beach. Good to know. In all the times I've been there, we've never been to the beach. We've been to museums. We've been to different places. So I'm going to be beaching it with a boot, and I'm going to take some pictures for you. So this, I'm going to be gone 10th through the 20th. So if you're listening to this and you need a little bit more RJ, I think that here's what I will direct you. I will direct you to the Bot Signal. It's my podcast, and it's pretty darn magnificent. I would love to see you over there. Thebotsignal.com. I make it easy for you. I'm also on Alexa. If you're best friends with Alexa, boop, so am I. We are very close. I've also set my wake word to be different so that she doesn't start talking when I'm talking about her, because that's a little annoying. Anyway, there won't be broadcasts like this until I come back. That will start up again the 22nd, which is a Tuesday. We will resume our Tuesday, Thursday schedule. I will probably do some impromptu, unannounced, hey, having a quiet moment, let's Facebook Live with my peeps. Probably do that maybe a couple of times throughout the vacation. If you need to get a hold of me, I'm still all available, all in the same places. I will have my computer. I just will have it shut for a number of hours per day. And it's going to be good for me because I need to get out. So that's what I know. Boot on the beach. That's what I'm talking about. You know what? If you've got a style, you need to rock it. And I'm going to be rocking it all through some airports. And it's going to be a really great time. So yeah. That's what I know. If you have any questions, again, you can throw them in the comments, or if you don't want to throw them in the comments, that's fine. I've got a place for you. It's my bot. Check out mybot.com. If you're not in there already, just get on in there right now and learn more about bots if you want to. Talk to me if you want to. It's the one place in the universe that you can ask me a one-on-one question in private and not feel like you're taking up my time, or, you have to have this question seen by everybody else. You can ask me questions in there, and probably at some point I'll move you to a phone call just so we can, get it all out there. Because I want to have a conversation with you. If you're within the sound of my voice, let's have a conversation. If we've already had one, thank you. And I love you. And thank you for coming to my show. So, darlings, that is it for today. I will be on BeLivers, in the BeLivers group. I'll be live with Steven tomorrow. Who knows what we're talking about? Probably something fun. Stacy says, any chance to talk to RJ is a good one. Stacy Spenceley. Stacy Spenceley and I built a bot together. That was one. I had built a couple for myself. Stacy wanted one. It was one of the first that we were able to build together, and it was such a pleasure working with Stacy. Hey, if you are a mom and you've got young people, like young, like tiny, you know what I'm saying, and you're struggling to like not murder them sometimes. If momhood to young kids is driving you crazy, get a hold of my Stacy Spenceley, Send My Crunchy Mama, on Facebook. Got a great big group active, and she's a great person to look to when you need some type of advice like that. So that's what I know for the day. Last broadcast had an open rate of 91%. That's right. And like Stacy doesn't broadcast all the time, hitting you over the head. Stacy broadcasts every once in a while, but it always has great value to her people. And it's always funny. I really appreciate that. So reiterating that point once again, you all know how to get a hold of me if you need me while I'm gone. I'm going to take a little break here, but that doesn't mean I'm not thinking about you. And with that, I shall end this broadcast. As Stacy says, and I scheduled it wrong due to user error. Haven't we all? It's fine. It's fine. So that's what I know. Do take care out there. Thank you for being here today. And I'll see you in a bot.